Happy Spring is here. You're going to win $1 billion on that basketball tournament. We got Kevin Lyman here today. Kevin started turning his dreams into reality in this very room. Yes, Kevin was a student worker at Citrus College, and he started booking shows in here. I remember playing that stage right over in that corner on his shows. And I'm not sure if Kevin always filled out the paperwork correctly, but he put on some really good shows, and that kind of started getting him going. Then he went to Cal Poly, and he graduated from there. Since then, he came up with an idea called the Warped Tour. How many of you guys have been to there? It's his show, created it, designed it, he owns it. Show's still going on today. Taste the Chaos, Mayhem, Country Throwdown, all Kevin Lyman stuff. He's also been a record company owner, a manager, kind of done almost everything in the music business, film producer. One of the stronger minds in the entertainment industry, and one of the biggest. So we're lucky to have a guy who started here, a local guy. Let's have a big Citrus welcome.
As he did 20 years ago, 25. You guys never let him age here. He has to keep up with you guys. But thank you for having me. It's been an amazing week, and thank you, Lions, for playing some music for me. That was awesome, all right? I'm sitting here realizing that I don't think I've gone 8 hours in the last week between South by Southwest. I just flew from Nashville. I was there last night, and not listened to live music, and which is awesome. I mean, ultimately, I found my passion through live music. We're going to just talk a little bit about my history. These things always get good if we have some conversation back and forth, so it's not like we wait till the end for questions. Anytime something pops into your mind, a topic you want to talk to, don't ask me about hanging out with Rob Zombie in a dressing room, or spanking under oath in a tour bus because I got in trouble or something. But we're going to talk about my biggest thing right now is time. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about time. Because the only thing I realize in my life I'm going to run out of is time. And it's a really kind of a cool spot to get into, and I'm all about not wasting time. So if you feel like I'm wasting your time, you can just get up and walk out. I'm not offended by it, really not anymore. Time's one of those things. You sit there and look at it in your life and you go, where did it all go? And a lot of people are asking me right now about the 20th anniversary of Warped Tour. It's our 20th anniversary of Warped Tour. And I'm saying, you know what? I don't want to talk about the past. I want to look to the future, and that's what my life has always been. It's about looking to the future, and that's kind of how I started out here at Citrus. I was a little bit of a flashback coming back, and it wasn't the type of flashbacks that from anything you listen or anything, but it's a flashback of walking back in this room, and my desk used to sit in that little corner over there. And my job basically was to make change for the video games, but I don't know where all the video games went, but there used to be a lot of video games in this room, and
yeah, no, right. They're in the phones.
The original Pac-Man, nothing on your phones. Yeah, it was always like you still needed quarters. So when they hired me here, my job was going to be sitting here and passing out quarters at night. And I would come in and I'd sit out and pass out quarters. Met some pretty cool girls, but that was not really what I probably should have been doing. But I would pass out quarters, and then I sat here and go, what am I going to do with my time? What am I going to, it's kind of a waste. I'm sitting here. So we found a little PA in the corner that was it hadn't been brought out in a long time. And I said, let's start throwing music at Citrus College. Let's start bringing bands here. And I was like Alan said, I was never really good at paperwork. I kind of had to deal with a security guard at night that if I cleaned up before anyone knew about it, I'd be okay. Because all the administrators would be gone by 6 o'clock. And I'd start work at 6 o'clock. Mine was the evening shift. So I'd roll out that PA, and we would set up over here on the floor, and I started a thing called $2 Tuesdays. And I would get bands to come play in the student center for $2. And each band would get $1. Business lesson number one, it should probably have been $3 Tuesdays. Because what was the problem? I gave each band $1 and didn't leave anything for the press at the school to do more shows. But we would do concerts in here, and I'd get bands to come out from LA, and we would set up PA, and they became pretty big. Problem is they almost started getting too big. We would have 300-400 people in the student center having mosh pits because I'd bring in out punk bands because that's all I really knew. TSOL, You know, and Alan's band, The Unforgiven, we were just talking about that, some of the bands he was in, and we would do these shows and we'd clean up, and knowing that probably at that point there were some beer cans out in the parking lot. Football games, beer cans are all right on the ground. Concerts are not. Notice that in life? It's like sports events, you can get crazy in the parking lot, but concerts are always trouble. I never understood that in my life. So, you know, we went out and cleaned up. I'd clean up all the trash, and we actually pulled that off for a long time. And I pulled it off a long time until I actually got noticed that, you know, hey, Kevin, there should be concerts at your school, real shows. I didn't know how to put on a real show. I'm like, sure, let's do real shows. I also realized we had a gymnasium that was way underutilized. And there was a band called Oingo Boingo. Do you remember that? A lot of you guys might know Danny Elfman now is a great composer. And his brother was the coolest promoter out in the valley. He was this great promoter, we thought. And we all looked up to him because we all went to his shows. That was the guy, you know, you might go to Golden Boy shows now or some of these things, and you look up to those guys at the Glass House and say, I could do that. So one time he said, my brother's in the band and he wants to play a show in the area. I said, let me see if I can work this out. So it was the first time I ever approached the administration about doing a show here on campus. And they literally said, okay. And we did Oingo Boingo in the gymnasium over there. And it was awesome. We had no idea what we were doing. But I also realized that the promoter that I looked up to so much was actually so incompetent in everything he did. I just remember Oingo Boingo, they wanted to do a song and they needed a stool, the stool like I'm sitting on. And he looked at him and he's like, I can't get that, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, I know where the labs, or the science center is, I'll be right back, I'll go grab one. You know, it's just about doing things. So I got into it, started helping out. We got some of the guys here at the campus, we unloaded the trucks, we set up the show, and we sold out the gymnasium. Word was that that was a pretty cool place to do shows. Got a call very shortly later, Howard Jones, remember that band, Howard Jones? And I said, they needed a place to rehearse. And I was thinking like, oh, they're gonna want to stay in LA, it's close. So I said, why don't you rehearse in our gymnasium? I said, I convinced them, you do a free show for us, we'll let you rehearse for free. And that was a great trade, and we sold out. Sold the show out, it was awesome, learned more about concerts. The band asked me to come out and say, why don't you come out to our first few shows? And then I got in trouble. Then I tried to get too far, and I really wanted to do this artist, and it was great. I just came from South by Southwest, and it was awesome to see him playing down there. Spandau Ballet, band that kind of had a few hits. I wanted to do Spandau Ballet, but then the administration got involved with me, and they wanted to have input. So they had me book John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. Look at all those looks all in your face. Who the hell is that? Right? You're right, no one knew who they were. So we paid this band all this money to come play at the campus. We lost money, I got in trouble, I got asked to leave nicely. So that was that's my illustrious history at Citrus College. But what I did walk out of here was I loved that passion of live music. I mean, how many of you like live music? Nice. I haven't met a person in the world. It's the coolest thing. How many like food? All right. There's two things that I found in the world that people ultimately like. No one has told me I hate food. I may hate cheese, I may hate pizza, I'm something you may not, but I've never heard anyone say, I hate food. And then music being the other one. Music, I've never heard of it. Does anyone hate music? I'm still looking for the person that just hates music. Well, I always have a little patty because you came to someone who's talking about music, but I've never, your mom might hate your music, and I'm trying to figure out how to bridge that gap. You may hate opera, you may hate something, but I've never met a person who hates music. And I still believe that music can bring people together. And it's always shocking to me how music is the most scrutinized thing when we try to throw it. You know? What gets people more uptight in this world than a concert? Authorities, at least. It's never worked to me. So that's why I've worked so hard to try to bridge that concerts are good. So you fast forward through my life. I got out of school, had no idea what I was going to do. Literally, I got a degree in recreation administration. I mean, anyone heard of that degree? I don't think they offer it anymore. All I knew is I got to be the lifeguard at the Cal Poly pool. And it was a place to socialize. I'm a firm believer in education. I know it's getting harder on you guys. The cost of education is getting crazy. A lot of people come up to me and go, is it worth getting your education? Well, education to me was very important because I got a degree in recreation administration. I didn't even know it was a Bachelor of Science degree. And I showed up at graduation in the Bachelor of Arts line, like 4 hours early. Dragged my mom and grandparents, everyone to graduation, and I was in the wrong line, a wrong time, wrong day. That's how little the actual education process meant to me. But it was a socialization of being on a campus, socialization of being around people, socialization of figuring out what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do, I guess, was throw live music, because I immediately became the guy on campus that we gravitated to each other. You notice how music brings people together? You find your friends, and music is usually a catalyst. Sometimes it's sports, sometimes it's this, but music does. So we had a group of guys over at Cal Poly, and we started throwing concerts, we started bringing shows, we started set up the same PA, a little more organized over there. We had a little bit of a budget, so we were able to get bigger bands. Every Thursday night, we'd load up my van, drive into LA, and that's where we got turned on to punk rock. You know, back then it was the Plimsolls, and you know, I just saw X at South by Southwest, and I was up in the front, up in the pit, jumping around with a bunch of other old dudes. It was awesome. Don't have to worry about getting hurt, because we're not really jumping that high. But there was that flashback to those moments when I worked in those clubs. And I got out of school, and I went to Hawaii to run a weight loss camp to use my degree. I guess I was supposed to run it with Recreation Administration. Our motto was lose weight, get a date, get a tan, get a man. So you kind of know that it was really run by a real serious bunch of people. We just found a reason to get to go to Hawaii and live there for a while. I came home, broke, living on a couch, and someone said, hey Kevin, you threw all those concerts in school and everything. They're looking for someone to come and work at a club in LA. You want to come down and be the stage manager? I'm like, awesome. And it was $100 a night, $100 under the table. Not that I would believe in taking money under the table, but back then we needed to pay the rent. So I go down and work at the clubs, and I also learned right away that this is not what I want to do forever. Okay? It was exciting. I was working 6, 7 nights a week. My job was pretty much come in, help set up the PA, set up a few things, put a pizza out in the back room, and then get on stage and throw people off the stage all night. That's all we did. It's kind of a running battle back then, punk rock in LA. And I didn't have to run to the tattoo shop afterwards. The tattoo shop was down the street. Most of the guys had to go pay the tattoo guy half their money. And those are the guys at my house with Black Flag bars and GBH now that are like 50 years old. But I was saving my money, and I said, I never want to become that guy. You guys know that guy? Any of you know that guy? Anyone you guys go to live shows? You guys go to shows? And there's someone absolutely bumming your night out? You guys know that guy now? The security guy, the sound man, the doorman. Anyone know that guy now? You know? And I could not understand, like, well, I didn't want to become that guy. And I've never wanted to become that guy my whole life. So 12 years went by. I became the first stage manager at Lollapalooza, the first one ever in 1991. And I started to build those relationships. And I'm a very big advocate of building relationships. And building relationships is patience. And I was relating to this week down, and I'm relating right now. People come up to me on the street and everything, and go, I really want to be like you. I want to do what you want to do. And I go, well, how long are you? And some kid goes, I'm getting really stressed. And I go, well, how old are you? He goes, I'm 21. And I go, you can't burn out at 21. You're just getting started at 21. It takes time. It's also a great time to be 21. Everyone's broke at 21. You know, you're all mutually broke together. And you don't have to pay your student loans back yet, which is awesome, because that's going to be a whole new level. So it's a great. So I'm always about time, like utilizing that time while you're in school, and no matter what you want to do. And if it's music or organizing events, don't think just because I see your Black Veil Bard shirt, I'm going to talk about you right now, but you know that he should just be working with that type of music. Get involved in any way, because you guys have a little more pressure than we have on. Seriously do right now. You know, you're going to be in school, you're going to get out of school, and you got to start paying those student loans back. But utilizing time. So I went through the whole thing, I went through the clubs, and then in 1995 I was going to leave, and I was trying to think what I was going to do. I was going to go be a school teacher. I was going to try to get a real job. It's amazing how many people don't think you have a real job if you're in music. You know? Yeah, it's kind of weird. You know, I've never heard somebody automatic, when are you going to get a real job? But I still get to this day, when do you think you're going to get a real job? My dad finally thinks I have a real job because he saw me on TV. And he's been on tour with me and seen me his whole life. And the other day he goes, I never knew you worked so hard. I go, you've traveled around the world with me. He goes, but that TV show, it sure makes you look like you work hard. You know, not knowing they've edited a whole summer of work into 21-minute episodes. But that's okay. So we went on, you know, you go on, and in 1995 I decided that it was like time for me to go get that real job. And I decided we've been working, and it's observing what's going on in your world right now. I can't keep up with your world. I am trying so hard right now. I just learned how to use Instagram. All right, and you guys are on to 6 other platforms. Like, people are running down around South by Southwest, asking me to have meetings and meetings. So much better than Instagram. I'm like, dude, I can't even use this Instagram. But that's how fast your world's working right now. And it's an amazing time to be creative. It's an amazing time to do it because you never know what you're going to do it. But I still believe in education because, you know, if you're looking at Mark Zuckerberg, they always say, well, those guys they all started out in school. If you look at any of the most of the great people that are developing technology now, it still started out in school. Once they made their first billion, they dropped out, paid back that student loan, and they're on their way. But they did, you know, think about it. That socialization. They probably went to school for more reasons, the same reason I did. They went to socialize. They socialized in circles of technology, and they developed the technology and took it. It moves a lot faster now, once you hit it that way. But it was interesting. So, you know, I said, I'm gonna go take this lifestyle that we've been living in Southern California. Not the lifestyle I'm living right now with a bunch of dirty clothes and cowboy boots, kind of a mix and match. I had a cowboy hat on and a beanie this morning. So, you know, there's no lifestyle I'm living anymore. But it was like this lifestyle that I grew up in. And I also really grew up in an era that everything was F corporate America. You know, our skateboards had it on. Everything was that. It was very anti-corporate America. I started looking around and going, we all actually support corporate America. The clothes we wear, the shoes, the cars we drive, the things like that. So when people ask me, you know, you're a sellout, I've been called a sellout. I go, yeah, absolutely, I sold out. I did. He's shaking his head. Yeah, I love those guys. You know? But we're all, you know, as soon as you get over that part of being a sellout, you're okay. But I really ended up taking that idea of how am I going to support something I love, music. And music is harder than ever to support without it now, no matter what you're joking. It's hard to be as pure punk rock as you ever can. But I looked at it and said, maybe I can use some of this money and take some friends on the road and try to take this music to other places. Because at that point, Sublime and No Doubt weren't household names. We're pretty much West Coast names. So I went out and got a little bit of this money that our friends were buying from, and went out on the road. And I started this little tour. It wasn't even going to be called the Warped Tour. It was going to be called the Bomb. Does anyone remember that term? Bomb, that's the bomb. No? You remember that term? That's what dad would have, that's the bomb. Well, that was a term that was pretty popular back then. And it's also about branding and timing, because I'm all about branding my projects now. And the day that I was going to announce the tour as the Bomb, because I couldn't afford name searches, you couldn't go to Google and see if there's something called that way, it was the Oklahoma City bombing. So you think about, you know, like, could you imagine, like, the first year wasn't that successful, so the running joke would have been the bomb, or the inappropriate timing of calling something the Bomb. But I was broke. I was down to my last $100 bucks. I couldn't do another name search. They used to cost about $400 a name back then. But I had those relationships with people, and those relationships came from helping with events and helping and volunteering. Every day I wasn't working a punk rock show, I was working some other thing, some other event, a lot of them being charity events. And I have a very charitable thread through my projects. So I was doing the Board Aid shows, a lot of skateboarding shows where we had charity. And a friend of mine owned Trans World Publications, and I called him up, and he had a magazine called Warp Magazine. And I said, can I borrow the name of your magazine? I promise I won't put out a magazine if you don't put out a tour. I think we're pretty close. And that's how it became a Warped Tour. Pretty unique thing about having those relationships you can go to, and I still think you need to develop those. We get this tour out on the road, was struggling. I mean, I came home broker than ever. I went right back to work in the clubs, but I knew there was something there. I saw this, the bands did. I just knew the community was ready for it. And that second year, I almost made the second biggest mistake in my life. At least in this project, I made a lot of mistakes, but this, looking at the Warped Tour, and I know that's what we're going to kind of focus a little on, it almost became the Calvin Klein Warped Tour.
Oh my God.
Think about it, 1996. My friends, a couple guys convinced me I was so broke that they had a friend at Calvin Klein and they could go brand something. And it's knowing if you're going to do this stuff, being very careful. And he said, I'm going to go meet with Calvin Klein. They flew off. They sat in the snow out in New York. It got caught in a blizzard. I got a call from a company called Vans. And Vans called me and said, we'd like to meet with you. Immediately I said, in my mind, because I was living in my own fantasy world, is they want to come and be part of my amazing music festival. So I drove down there the next day. The meeting was rescheduled for a couple days. They were stuck in New York. And I get put in a little room. And it's sometimes in life you just have to realize you have nothing left to lose. So Walter Schoenfeld, the then co-founder with Steve Van Doren's father of Vans, comes in the room. And he goes, Kevin, I hear you throw great skate contests. I'd like you to come to work to Vans and help me with my amateur skate program. And talk about like that moment where you're just like, oh my God. He's not here to talk about my music festival. He wants me to come to work for him. And that's that moment when you have nothing to lose. You just go, and you got to get that in you. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to know when just to throw it all out. And I said, Walter, you're never going to have a successful amateur skate program unless you're attached to this amazing music festival called work. It worked. It worked. In 15 minutes, I had and a 3 came out of his mouth. As I was talking about, he was going to give me $3,000 or $30,000. He gave me $300,000. Good sales job. But the caveat beyond and this is the one going out the door, you better fulfill it when you take it. He goes, so Kevin, I'm looking forward to having some skate contests tied in with your work tour over in Europe. I'm like, sure, Walter, no problem. As I go out the door and go, I don't even have a passport. You know, so I went and got a passport, went over to Europe, pieced together a 6-show tour, found guys who skaters, and I'd worked hard enough in those relationships because I worked 320 days a year. Every punk band, every band that came over here I was working with, I was able to reach out to them and get involved with them. And we did a nice little show, some shows in Europe, and you fast forward 19 years, I just flew from Nashville. I met someone very similar to Walter Schoenfeld, the guy who founded Journey Stores. I met him and we hit it off. And they just stepped up and they're going to be my presenting sponsor of the Vans Warped Tour for 3 more years. But now it's a whole different thing for me. I'm going to get to put artists in, I'm going to get to put their music in their stores. I'm going to help the artists move forward because really that's what Warped Tour is now, is a catalyst for artists year round. So I went on that, that going on, and you learned a lot about all these things, about, brands, working, observing the world you work in. I used to work with the Ramones all the time. Some of you, you'll know the Ramones in the gray shirt, right? No, a little bit, right? No, I'm just picking on you a little bit. But, the Ramones, I used to work with the Ramones all the time. And you build those relationships by taking care of the bands you work with. And on their rider, some of you have a contract and it says what you want in your dressing room. The Ramones like chocolate Yoo-hoo. Okay? Chocolate Yoo-hoo was not available on the West Coast at that point, but I had a cousin out that lived in New York that was a big Ramones fan. And I said, I wrote him a letter or called him, I said, can you tell me what chocolate Yoo-hoo was? And he said, yeah, we drink it out here in New York all the time. We like chocolate water. I said, can you send me a case of that? Send me a case of it. So he sent me a case of that, and I put it in the garage, and every time the Ramones would come through, they would get their 4 bottles of chocolate Yoo-hoo in the dressing room. It actually broke down a lot of walls with a band and walked out. Little things could break down make those relationships last forever. And I said, so I became their guy. I probably did over 50 Ramones shows on the West Coast. But later on down the road, I saw Chocolate Yoo-hoo. We were trying to find our sponsors and brands, and you want to try to find people especially at the beginning of a project, that you can really relate to with the artists. And I went to the company, went to Stamford, Connecticut, took the train up from New York, went into this office, and these people in suits and ties were sitting there, and they said, what are you doing here? I go, I got this punk rock tour, and you are the original punk rock drink. And they're like, what do you mean? And I go, I have the Ramones dressing room rider right here. She says, they like chocolate Yoo-hoo. You need to get involved with me. And I signed a deal with them. It was, it's growing up in your environment, learning everything you possibly can about it. I've knocked down South by Southwest into it. When I used to go to South by Southwest, at the beginning of South by Southwest, I'd work 320 shows a year, and my vacation was to go see more live music. I'd go down there and hang out for a week. It was all my chances to drink beers with my friends, and everyone asked, why aren't you working? Why aren't you working? And I go, because I love music. I'm just hanging out with you guys. There was a lot of free beer back then. But then, you know, then I couldn't afford to go. As I was building my brand and building what Kevin Lyman's projects are all about, I couldn't go. And then I got to go back after about 5 years. And that's when I was probably about 30, about 30 years old. And I went back in a whole different way. It was like to get your hustle on. There's nothing wrong with getting your hustle on. A guy named Ice-T taught me that. All right? Get your hustle on. There's a lot of ways. He also taught me, like, you know, go with your gut. Your gut. Because he'd always say, Lyman, you think too much. Go with your gut. I met him on the 1991 Lollapalooza. He was sitting on the side of the stage late at night. I was trying to figure out how to get 9 Inch Nails gear to work. And it was 114 degrees. And he was sitting there in the evening. And he came over and I said, what are you doing here? Why aren't you at the hotel having a part at the party? He goes, look, party's not going to change my life, but if I can understand what's going on around me while I'm on stage, it might change my life one day. And we struck up a friendship that lasts till today. Body Count's coming back, so of course I got to put him on the Mayhem Festival this year. You know, but Ice-T's gone on, he went on to a lot of things, and then one year he called me and he said, I'm coming on the Warped Tour. And I go, Ice, I have no room on the tour, I'm booked. He goes, you got room. I'm like, my next thing was, I have no money. He goes, you think I need money? So then I'm like, okay. He goes, 1, I'm coming on the Warped Tour. 2, I don't need your money, but what I need is 3 bus spots. So I put him on my bus that summer. And we spent late nights, 2 in the morning, when he wasn't running the tea lounge on my bus, which became a rolling nightclub. But some nights we'd have these conversations and we'd actually talk about how we all just kind of grew up in different neighborhoods and we all learned how to hustle in our own ways. We learned how to hustle. You never lose that hustle if you're going to be an entrepreneur. And hustle's not a bad thing. You got to get your hustle on. But there's also those times that you can shut it off. So I did that for 15 years. Every meeting, everything I do, everything. South by Southwest is a crazy thing. And anyone of you got to experience it yet? Yeah, it's awesome. It's crazy, but it's awesome. So you get your hustle on, you're trying to work, you're trying to build your business, you're trying to do this. And then I got kind of burned out about 4 years ago. And I just said, I'm not going to go back to South by Southwest. This year they asked me to come down and speak. And I said, I'm going to go back, but I'm not going to schedule any meetings to see if I can decrease my hustle for a minute. Just go back to who I was, a fan of music, hanging out with friends. And I was nervous. It was like a personal thing. It was really stressful because, you know, I've been going at a fast pace for over 30 years. And I flew down there and got off the plane, kind of nervous. I'm not nervous around things. It's not my style. But I was really nervous that I had no sheet of paper in front of me to tell me that every minute of my life was scheduled. And I just had the best time, best 5 days down there, reconnecting with people. Because it comes down to people. I didn't have to run and see any bands. I didn't have to be at this. I didn't have to be at that. It's about reaffirming those relationships I've had in my life. And it was a great step for me. You know, if you do go into this world or anything, how many of you want to be in music? All right, it's a big crowd. Okay. It's a great time to be in music despite what you read about it. Okay? How many of you want to stay in LA and be in music? I'm going to take that out of your minds, okay? Start thinking about places where you can afford to live. Anyway, Nashville is the best city for anyone 20 to 35 right now. It's like LA used to be. It's such a great town right now. Technology, music, people that are just, man, it's not country. How do you think Nashville was a country town? I'm gonna be honest. It's not a country town anymore. I was the only guy in the airport with a cowboy hat on today. You know? It really was. It's a music town. It's becoming the essence of a place you can afford to live, because affordability becomes a big thing in creativity. If you can't, when your creativity gets squelched, when it's all right to struggle, but if you can find an affordable place to live, it's a great place for creativity. And right now, Nashville is I'm telling you guys, if I was in this position that I was then, I'd be starting to look at Nashville as the place to go. In the next 5 or 10 years, more jobs in music, more jobs in technology. Google's about ready to hardwire that town, or whatever the Google wire they're going to put together. That is going to be an awesome place to go down to live. You can live in anywhere now. Music is coming out of everywhere. The people that you hear complaining the most about it were the guys who let the business fall apart in the first place. They were very self-centric. The music business is now more equal, like everyone's more equal in music. If you're worried about living in the Hollywood Hills or like the front row Laker tickets and that, you have to realize the music business was built on 90% failure. You don't know that, 90% failure? We let a business be built that we would depend on one giant Michael Jackson record to pay for 90% of the records that didn't make money. How many businesses are built on failure? I mean, I'm trying to think of, like, you went to the Toyota lot and 9 out of 10 cars didn't start. I used to say the only thing that was close was T-Mobile. You know, but, you know, they've even improved their track record. But right now, we've taken the whole music back to a point where more people will be making a living in music and in creativity. And a living is a house, maybe have a little money to go on vacation once in a while, being able to make a living. It's that crazy enrichment. Even though I still saw some of the craziest hip-hop things I've ever seen in Austin. The old hip-hop, rent the Bentley, roll around with the posse, booming music. It was still alive and well down in Austin last week. But none of the guys who are really making it in hip-hop are actually living that lifestyle anymore. So, you know, I'm at this point. I was able to create a lot of opportunities for me in music. I own part of Side One Dummy Records. I managed people, but I realized I'm not a babysitter, so I had to get out of management. Any of you want to be a manager? Manager? What, you know, take psychology classes. Because that's what you're going to be dealing with. I mean, people don't think that if you're going to be a band manager, take psychology. You know, we've done so many things, but the coolest thing I'm doing right now is I started a beer company. You know, started a beer company with some friends, surfers and skaters, P-Rod and Taylor Steele and Taylor Knox. We all got together and said, guys who have built their own brands. The Warped Tour is not a music festival, it's a lifestyle festival. I know I piss off people because it's not enough punk rock or this or that, but it's actually a place and a community that we built into a year-round place for people to kind of gather and understand things. We run so many charities off of there. The most proud thing I've ever, is how many charities are founded off the Warped Tour. Keep Abreast, to write Love on Their Arms. We run that canned food drive. We're gonna try to set the world record for a canned food drive. We have to collect like 200,000 cans of food in a 24-hour period. The blood drives we do, the Music Saves Lives blood drives that we do, 60,000 pints of blood. So Warped Tour has become that community. So what you do to expand yourself out of it, because trust me, talking to agents and sometimes in managers gets a little, and lawyers is not a good thing for a person like myself. I got in trouble at a party the other day that the waitress looked kind of, observed people, and she looked pretty sad. And I go, what's wrong? She goes, man, I'm working so hard. And I go, the tips are low. And she goes, yeah. And I go, well, you're around a bunch of agents. They're not known for giving away any of their money. I said, you should be down the road with the sound and lighting guys. They're used to being in strip clubs and bars their whole life. You're going to be loaded right now. Just joking. To his face. Are you a sound man? Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I observed people. I saw the look on his face and knew right away. He's going, no, I don't want to go. But, it's moving forward, trying to figure out. But this beer company we've done, it's called St. Archer Beer. When we started it a year ago. We thought we'd do 2,000 barrels of beer in the first year. We're at 22,000 barrels in the first 11 months. It just launched in LA County. We're at Whole Foods, we're at Bevmo. And of course, I use my knowledge of the music business, and you'll be able to buy it at Coachella. You'll be able to find it at the Glass House, at the Fox. You'll be able to find it because you know what we have to do? I said, oh, we got to put it in cans. So we just bought 192,000 cans. And we're going to pack them all up for all the music venues here. But the reason I got that beer in there, and it's good beer, we hired great brewers. We told them, you make the beer. I don't want to put the hands in the hops. And the brewers are like, what? They go, every guy who wants to start a beer company thinks he's an expert in beer. I just like it cold. That's pretty much my expertise in beer. And they're making some of the best beers they've ever made because we gave them the opportunity to hone their craft, and they're experts at it. Our expertise is in branding. If you ever see St. Archer, once you start seeing it, it's logo, we design, it's all design friendly, it's marketing friendly. Our endorsees, the pro skaters and everything around, we don't pay them. They put money in and they are owners of the company. So it's a new way to vest in people. You don't pay a skater to wear the shirt anymore. They're part of the company, so they feel attached to it. So when they grab their social media devices and whatever they're going to use, they're talking about something that they feel passionate about. So we're going to start building these companies. We're investing in brands together. You know, and the best thing about this is I'm not driven by money. It may sound like it. I'm talking about business up here. I was never driven by money. And once you've figured it out, and if you're good to people and you treat people well, you'll have opportunities to make the money. Like I said, I'm going to only run out of time. I did a project. Maybe you go to this haunted house I did over here? Rob Zombie, Great American Nightmare. You know? Great haunted house, great thing. I just realized, how many more Octobers am I going to have in my life? You know? And I didn't like being there. It was disturbing. The haunted house is more disturbing and scary. And it was a flashback to my life working in clubs where half of them were just with some drunk guy fighting and throwing him out the door. I spent my month of October doing that. So I lost a lot of money on that project, and I looked at the end of it, everyone was all worried about the money, and I go, not worried about the money. Luckily, I've got to a position where I can take that kind of thing, but I don't want to make it a habit. But I don't want to lose that October. And October is my favorite month now. Fishing's good, leaves are changing colors, you know. You can get out and enjoy October, not be working in a haunted house. So what I want to do is, we're going to start some conversations here, hopefully, because it hopefully will stimulate some questions. You can ask me any question. I'm pretty open about stuff. Yes, I almost had a drinking problem, okay? I almost was divorced, all right? This business that you're going into, I always like to say, is a yellow line down the road. In most people's lives, when you work for a bank or an accounting firm or something, that line's pretty straight. You kind of drive down a straight line. There's not a lot of leeway. This business you're thinking about going into is a big swing. There's a lot of leeway and that's what attracts us to it. I always say it's a fine line between eccentric and psychotic. Okay? All my friends I was very attracted to because they were very eccentric. Some of them have gone a little psychotic in the last few years, you know? You just deal with it. But it's trying to figure out how to stay in the middle, somewhat in that big swinging life that you have to figure out how to be there. And that's why you hear about so many musicians or so many people in our industry, because it's a very social function. It's social. People are coming usually to enjoy themselves, but it's your job. Women in this business, it's going to be a little harder. It's just like every business, it's going to be hard, but you can do it. My company's all run by women. If you come over to our office, I've got like 6 girls and 1 guy that's kind of more of a girl than all of them. But it works out, And they support what I do because they're super organized. I also, my bus, they always go, why is all the girls on the bus, Kevin, with you? I go, they smell better. Very simple in my life. Riding around with 12 stinky dudes in a bus, not so good. But it's always better, But I'm just saying, girls, you got to take it real serious. You got to come in there professional. Because, honestly, you're going to be looked at as like, are you just trying to hang out with the band dudes? And if you want to become a road manager, you're going to get turned down for jobs sometimes because the girlfriend of the singer is going to say, I don't want any girls on the road with you. Not doing that. That's not going to stop him if he wants. But, I'm just saying it's going to be hard, but you can do it. You can do it. Don't let down on it. Just keep the hammer down. Get as much experience as you can while you're in school right now. I always yell, this is Dakota over here. He's helping me out right now. He was an intern that came into the office and I can't get rid of him. So I brought him down to South by Southwest and I just thought it'd be good. And you know what? Every meeting I didn't really want to take because I was in a different place right now. I had to meet with Dakota. And I said, sort through this, Dakota. Tell us there's something we might want to do some business with. And then I could just go back to the Big Frida party. Because every night it ended with Big Frida at South by Southwest. I don't know why, but we all ended up watching her at midnight, about 50 of us. It was funny. So why don't we open this up to some discussion and try to get some more things going. I've been up since 2 o'clock your time to get to the airport and everything. So yes, sir.
I recently got back
from... stop. When you're just speaking and asking questions, say your name. Because this is your community right here. This is your peers out here. And if you say something unique and interesting that sparks some other friend here, you may spark up that friendship that takes you forward.
or them for?
Well, my name is Roberto. I recently got back from a tour with a bandmate of mine, well, with a band of mine, and I was wondering if you had any tips for successful touring.
It's the band.
It's Failed to Study.
Okay, van? Take it you guys were in a van?
We had an expedition and then a trailer with all the equipment.
Nice.
We recently.
How many guys in the expedition? How many people in the expedition?
5.
Okay. How long were you out on the road for?
Give or take about 2.5, 3 weeks.
How many shows you play?
About 10 or so. There was more, but one of the bands that we were supposed to play with called all the venues and canceled.
They get canceled, yeah, so things happen. I mean, that's always funny too, because it's the band, they canceled your show.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is with the community of musicians these days. It's like, support each other. I mean, people always ask me, like, how are you going to, I go, I don't know, like, the local scene, punk rock scene in LA, we used to support each other. You know? The bands supported each other, and you would think they would be more, because everyone's in the same boat right now. They're trying to figure out how to get on the road, calling and canceling gigs. You know, you're out on a tour. They got a record deal?
No.
They're just out there doing it. I mean, how old are you guys, like 20?
20 to 23.
20, 23. You know what? That's that period of time when it's cool. You're broke. It's okay. And I don't say it's wrong, and when it's broke, but that's what you should be doing. You know, hopefully if you do this again, you'll book your own tour and you'll have the relationships so that you won't get the shows canceled. But don't think sometimes, I always say, become the biggest fish in your backyard before you tackle the country.
We actually went to Nashville.
We're all the way on a 2-week tour, you drove to Nashville?
We went all the way to the East Coast.
Wow.
Up to Michigan and down south.
I mean that's good, but I don't know, you know, and I'm not, but if I was that band, did they leave anything behind? I know it's hard to find a record store or a skate store, or how are they